Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. So we're back with an easy track that won't run.
We worked on this mower 2 years ago and replaced all the fuel lines, and that solved that problem for 2 years. What it was doing then was it would just shut off after it would start up and run normal for a few minutes. What it's doing this time is once it heats up to operating temperature, it starts shutting off then. One large difference between the last time and this time is this fuel filter's full of fuel. When the lines were clogged up, that fuel filter would be empty. All right, and what I'm going to do is just check the fuel pump real quick, but I think I know what the problem is. Okay, by disconnecting the fuel line and having a container to catch the fuel, we can check the fuel pump. And it's pumping plenty of fuel. So that's not the problem. Okay, and I don't know if we'll have to pull it in or push it in, but we'll get this thing in the shop and take a look at it. All right, and actually, since that had cooled off, I put the fuel line back on it and it fired up and I drove it in here just fine. So these mowers have a known issue, and most of the lawnmowers made today have this. So whether you've got a John Deere or Toro or whatever, if once it warms up, or maybe even gets a little hot working hard like they do in the spring, if your mower just shuts off and then will start back up once it cools off, this is probably the issue. And also, we replaced all of the fuel line on this 2 years ago, and it's been working fine since. So I guess maybe that's the first place to start, is make sure your fuel lines aren't clogged up. So I'm going to take these 6 bolts out and take this cowling off so we can see the problem. And this is the culprit right here. This is a backfire solenoid, and what it does is when it gets power to it, it opens the valve at the main jet to allow fuel into the carburetor. And then when you turn the key off and it doesn't have power to these 2 wires, that valve closes. The problem is this solenoid, when it heats up, can malfunction because it's just a coil in there and start shutting your fuel off right when you're trying to mow your grass. And that's no good. So we're going to bypass this solenoid and see if that solves our problem. And I think it will. Like I said, this is a known issue. So just unplug our solenoid, and then it takes a 13-meter wrench to unscrew it out of the carburetor. All right, and we've got a little container to catch any gas that comes out. And make sure you do this when the engine is cold, because the muffler is right under this. And if that's hot, that fuel could ignite. And this one takes a 13-millimeter wrench. And once it's broken loose, you can just take it out by hand. So this is that plunger, and what happens is when this solenoid gets charged, it retracts this plug away from the seal that's in there. And what we can do is just disable this to make sure this is a problem, and then we can order this solenoid and put it in when it comes in. So we're going to bypass this fuel shutoff or backfire solenoid, and the easiest way to do that is just to disable this. And this is the easiest way I've seen to do that. We've now just got a plug. So we'll put this back in and put this mower back together. So basically we've just turned this electrical solenoid into just a plug. And we'll take our 13-millimeter wrench and snug it down. There we go. And it's not going to do anything anymore, but we'll go ahead and plug it back in. The other thing we want to do, since we've disabled the fuel shutoff valve now, is we'll put a new fuel shutoff valve in, and I like to put it right after the fuel pump. That way it'll be easy to get to for the operator. So let's do that. All right, so we'll put our fuel clamps on. Then we'll slide our fuel shutoff valve on. And this just gives us a manual fuel shutoff instead of the electronic one that was on here. Put our clamp on. All right, and you can see the fuel is off. And now turn it on. So now what will have to happen is when the operator goes to shut the mower off, after shutting it off, just turn off the fuel and we're good to go. Sometimes these fuel shutoffs have an arrow on them showing the direction of fuel. This particular one does not, but it's still just an on-off valve. All right, let's get it back together and see if it works. So this panel has slots in it to go in this heat deflector for the muffler. So just put those in. All right, we'll get one bolt started on this side. Okay, now it's just a matter of putting the rest of the bolts in. All right, and I'll tighten the rest of these up with the electric ratchet. All tightened up. All right, well, that's going to be it for this easy repair. And basically what we did was we bypassed the fuel shutoff solenoid. And to do that, we put in a manual fuel shutoff valve. So let's take it out and see if it works. Okay, let's go ahead and start this up. So we'll turn on the fuel. I'll go ahead and choke it since it's cold. All right, well, we'll consider that an emergency repair, but Bill just mowed his whole garden with it and it's working good. So that's the difference, is to fix this right would be to replace that solenoid, but that's going to cost you about 50 bucks, and I don't know how long it'll take to get that part. We just disabled it and put a fuel shutoff valve on, which I bought for 10 of them for like $10 on Amazon. And we got this mower back running. All right, well, I'll tell you what, this thing lives in this garden, and with the rain we've been having, this garden needs mowed about every other day. So we got this mower back in service with this emergency repair. And if you're having a similar issue, most of your lawnmowers today, especially the riders, have those fuel shutoffs that are those solenoids. They're called an anti-backfire solenoid, but you can bypass it and just put a shutoff valve in and get you back in business. And that's what it's all about. If you got anything out of this video, give us a thumbs up. It absolutely helps the channel. And we invite you to subscribe to see more. Have a great day and be safe.